Hi vinyl community, it's Mike here, and today's video is another vinyl tag. Yes, yet another one. And this time it's from Steve Carlson in the United States, and this is the world vinyl tag. I sort of promised myself I wouldn't really be doing many tags this year, but I think I've already done about 3. And there's another one after this as well that I think tickles my fancy a little bit, so I might have a go at that, but then definitely no more after that, okay? So anyway, this looked really interesting to me because it's an opportunity to show records that you might not see on the VC otherwise, or at least very often. So Steve's asked 14 questions, and 15 questions, and they relate to world music, basically. So first question is, show a reggae album or an album inspired by reggae. Well, I've gone for this reggae album. It's by Culture. It's their debut album, 2/7's Clash, and it was recorded in Joe Gibbs' studio in Jamaica in 1977. And it's an absolutely brilliant album. I mean, Culture are one of the really big names of reggae, Jamaican reggae. And yeah, it's just absolutely brilliant. I mean, Marcus Garvey is another one of their albums that really is worth picking up. And Kumbalo as well, that's another one that I really like. But this is their debut and probably their finest album, 2/7's Clash by Culture. So that's a reggae album. Question number 2. Show an album that's sung in a different language, i.e. not in English, or I suppose if you're somewhere else in the world, not in the language of your native country. But I've gone for a French album, and I love French music, and I've got quite a lot of various albums by various people. I don't think I've ever shown this one before. It's an album from 2017, and it's by this lady, Fishback. Her name's Laura Fishback. She's from northern France, from Dieppe, and the album's called Ata Messi. And as you can see, all the tracks there are in French. So the music, it's very much sort of synth pop and pretty good. I mean, she's got a lovely voice, and yeah, it's a great album. So this is Fishback, and an album sung in French. Right. Show an album with a tribal beat. Yeah, this is a bit problematic, Steve. I mean, what do we mean by a tribal beat? But anyway, I've gone for this one. I think this sort of fits the bill, really. And it's a guy from Senegal. No, sorry, he's from Ghana in West Africa. And there he is. It's Okirima Asante, and this is the album's sort of drum message. It's an album from sort of many years ago, but this was the first time on vinyl. Yes, it was recorded in 1977, and came out on vinyl probably about sort of 2 or 3 years ago. And yeah, it's a great album, and you know, he's a drummer, and he also plays sort of balafon, which is, I suppose, it's related to a xylophone or a marimba, you know, that kind of instrument, you know. And yeah, it's a really good, really good album from Ghana in West Africa that's got some great beats on it. So that's the drummer, and it's Orikima Asante. Right. What's next? Question number 4. Yeah, show a record from the Far East. So I've gone for Japan, and it's this album, and it's by a singer called Akiko Yano. I'd say she's She's Japanese. It's quite sort of poppy sort of music, really. It's from 1984. She's from Tokyo, I believe, and the album is called Agar the Kuchane, which I'm reliably informed translates to "There Must Be Love." And of course, being a Japanese album, you've got the obligatory obi strip. So that's my album from the Far East, from Japan, Akiko Yano. Right, an album that features a sitar. Well, you know, back in the late 60s, mid to late 60s, once the Beatles had got into their transcendental meditation sort of phase, the sitar became a sort of quite a stable instrument of many Western musicians. And I've gone for an absolutely classic folk album from 1970, and it's Pentangle and Cruel Sister. And John Renbourn plays the sitar on the title track, which is Cruel Sister. So there you go. That's an album with a sitar on it. Right. Next off, an album from Scandinavia. So Scandinavia. I've gone for Norway on this one, and I thought I'd go for a Norwegian folk duo, and it's the Kings of Convenience, and this is I think this is their debut album called Quiet is the New Loud. This is a reissue that was for Record Store Day probably about sort of 8 or 9 years ago now, and yeah, it's a really lovely sort of folk album. So it's from Norway, it's from Scandinavia, and it's the Kings of Convenience. Right. Show an album from Africa. Right, I've gone for these guys. They're from Senegal, from Dakar, and it's Orchestra Baobab, and it's Pirate's Choice. And this was recorded in Dakar in 1982, and this is about the time when I first started becoming interested in world music. It became more and more accessible. There were radio programs in the UK. Where you could hear a lot of African music, and you know, I kind of fell for these guys. And the first, this is a double album, but the first track on side one is Utru Horas, and it's an absolutely lovely track, and it appeared on a compilation album that I got, and I thought I really love this, so I had to go out and then get a proper album by Orchestra Baobab. So Orchestra Baobab take their name from a club or restaurant, I think it was, that they played in. They were the house band in Club Baobab in Dakar, and the baobab is a tree that's native to Africa. So there you go, Orchestra Baobab. It's Mbalak's music. It's sort of poppy, sort of African dance music, and it's fantastic. So there you go. That's Pirate's Choice by Orchestra Baobab. Right. Next off, we're off to Australia, and show an album from Australia. Now, I've got absolutely loads of punk and garage and indie from Australia, but I thought, in keeping with the World Vinyl tag, I'd show something a little bit more sort of folksy, really. And this is from absolutely brilliant female singer, and it's her latest album. It's Jen Clower, and it's called, what is it called? I Am the River is Me. And Jen's from Adelaide, but I think she lives in Melbourne now, and she has sort of Maori roots from New Zealand. And the album's got an alternative title, and I'll make a right mess of this. It's Koa Aute Awa Kote Awa Ko Au, which presumably, well, it's I Am the River is Me in a Maori sort of language. And the album is sung in Maori and in English, and it's an absolutely lovely album. So that's Jen Clower, an album from Australia. Right, where are we off to next? Oh yeah, South America. I don't have an awful lot of South American music actually, but again, it's a female vocalist, and this is Joyce, and this is an album that was apparently only released in Italy initially, and she's from Brazil. Uh, Passerino Urbano is the name of the album, and as you can see, it's popular Brazilian music. And this album was released in 1976 initially, and you know she's a singer-songwriter, plays a guitar. She was absolutely brilliant, and yeah, a great sort of South American Brazilian folky album. So there you go, Joyce and Passerino Urbano. Right, where to next? Oh, an album from an island nation, and I've gone for another female vocalist. Again, one of my absolutely favourites. It's an album from 2017, and it's from this lady. This is Aldous Harding. Say she's from New Zealand, and this is her album Party. And yeah, there's not really much to show on this album. I think even the inner has sort of just a few words there, and that's it. But it's an absolutely lovely album, as are all of her albums. Designer is probably her best album to date. So if you want to get into Aldous Harding, that's the album that I would recommend. So there you go, from New Zealand. Right, something from the Middle East. Not an album this time, but it's a 10-inch. So it's a mini album, and this is from a lady called Fatima Al Qadiri, and she's Kuwaiti. She was actually born in Tanzania though, because I think her father was a diplomat and presumably was stationed in Tanzania when she was born. But she lived most of her life, I think, in the Middle East, in Kuwait. And this album is called Gumar, and it's electronic music. It's quite, quite accessible. It's really, really, really lovely album. This 10-inch, and it's Gumar by Fatima Al Qadiri from Kuwait in the Middle East. Right, next off, what have we got? Oh yes, an album from a cold country. Well, yeah, there are lots of cold countries in the Northern Hemisphere, aren't there? But Iceland is the one I've gone for, and it's this album, and it's an all-female punk band called Groya, and the album's called What I Like to Do, and I saw them doing a session on KEXP Seattle. I was absolutely drawn to them. So, I went and sought out this album that luckily was available at my local record store. So there you go. So that's Groya from a cold country, which is Iceland, and What I Like to Do. Right, we're almost there. 3 more questions to go. Right, show a garage rock album that isn't from one of the usual suspects, so not the UK, US, Canada, or Australia, something like that. So I've gone for a French band, and it's a duo, and it's the Luminanas, and they're from south of France somewhere. I can't remember exactly where, but they're sort of small, sort of southern France. Great sort of like garage album. It's called Malamore, and open it up, and there you go. There's the everything there, the track listing and everything. And yeah, it's it's a lovely garage album from France. Right. Now staying in France for the next one, and this is your favourite album from, again, not from one of the usual suspect countries, and this is, as I say, it's another French album. It's Yéyé Noir, as they describe themselves, big garagey, and it's Junior. and it's our album De Trois. And there you go. And I really love this album. So my copy of it came with a lovely bonus single, and there you go. There's a nice sort of postcard depiction of the band, and then a sort of a beer mat and De Trois from Junior. So that's possibly, well, at least one of my favourite non-English sort of speaking albums. So there you go. And finally, show an album or a single or whatever where either the name of the artist or the name of the song or the name of the album is difficult to produce. And I've gone for something from Italy because I tend to stumble over sort of Italian words. I think the knack of doing it is to not think about it too much and just go with the flow. But anyway, I'll have a go here. It's this album. It's a soundtrack album from a Italian TV detective drama, and it's by Sandro Brugnolini, and the title is La Uomo dagli occhiali a special. And as you see, I made a right mess of that. I think it means the man in the dark glasses. And yeah, it's a really good soundtrack album. I mean, you don't have to be told that it's a sort of detective sort of crime drama, because the music really sort of gives it away. And yeah, again, this is something, as you say, it was a record store day purchase. And it's really good. So that's my trip around the world with 15 records, courtesy of Steve Carlson. So have a go at this if you really want to. It's good fun, and I'll leave a link to Steve's video in the description so you can pick up all the questions and anything else you need to know about it. So until next time, I'll see you folks. Bye bye.